All right, what is up, everyone? Welcome to the Road to Millions. I'm so excited to be doing this. We've been talking about doing something like this for a long time, but just haven't gotten around to it. So, joining me, you all, everyone knows these people: Nathan, Corbin, Steve. So, we'll wait just a couple minutes to get everyone in the room, and then we'll get going. I have no idea how long it's going to take. Shouldn't be too long, but congratulations to everyone for joining. I think this is going to be incredibly helpful. It's going to be very different. It's a different way to look at this. We've started this year, and I truly cannot believe the results. I could not be happier. Honestly, if the results had sucked, we would not be doing this. But it's been going good. So Nathan, when before we get going, when we talked about this, it wasn't a year ago, but it was like 9 months ago. You were initially pretty receptive of it,
Yes.
so just what's it been like so far since we started
Oh, it's
started
been. I
this
mean,
strategy?
it's been less stressful. It's been, you know, I think the strategy that we've been able to implement has paid. I mean, well, it's paid dividends. The results are there. I mean, you'll be able to see it, guys, here in a little bit when he goes a little deeper into the numbers game. But in doing so, it's enabled us to really focus on areas that we feel are going to hit. Like the percentages are there, the picks are there because we're not really spreading ourselves thin and trying to saturate, let's say, the betting market with so many bets. We just kind of really dial it down and distill that into things that we feel super confident about. So it's been awesome.
Steve, your initial response when we kind of came up with this, and then just what's it been like as you've kind of noticed over the last 9 months?
I mean, I was a little skeptical at first, like as most people, I think some people, I should say, would be, but I going forward, it's been working really well for us with the low volume. Um, it just having less exposure, and if you have a big night with a ton of bets on the docket and you lose, it's going to hurt you in the long term, big time. So really, just a low volume approach has been big for me, and that's really what's added to my bankroll personally.
Corbin, what about you?
Exactly as you just said, the low volume approach, just cancelling out all those smaller plays that you might make, or when you have too many plays in one days, that can either make for some days a really good day, but more often than not, a bad day, making a bad day even worse. So
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll wait 2 minutes and then we'll get going. So kick back, relax. We're not going to cover any like specific bets or anything really timely. This is just something that we can go back and kind of refresh over 6 months, a year. We can update it and everything. Those of you from Takedown Live, you guys probably know some of this, but we just wanted to get this a little bit more official, and now it'll just be out there forever. So people that find us can jump in and take a look at this and see it. So couple things here. Don't be scared about asking questions in the chat there. We're here to answer questions. Hopefully, I don't go too fast with some of this. We're going to send out links. So if you want to send me your email, I'll get to that throughout. I'm going to be sharing our spreadsheet, and I'm also going to be able to send that to everybody. So you guys will be able to track your own bankroll on a spreadsheet that's already set up for you. So we have a lot of good stuff, and I hope this kind of really clarifies what we're getting ready to do. So, all right, guys, it's 7:05. Let's jump into it. I have a screen here with our text, what we're going to cover. Nathan and Corbin were nice enough to point out that it's pretty basic and there's not any frills here. which is
It's a little bit
100% true. It's a little basic. So, but we're all right. So what are we going to cover tonight? Well, here's the basics. What is the Road to Millions? What are we trying to accomplish? I would say the mentality portion is going to be the most important. If we don't totally understand it and buy into it mentally, it's just never going to work. It's too easy to slip up if we're not really focused on it. So we're going to go over that. We are going to get into specifics on the money and the math that is required. We're going to get into what to bet and how to bet. And honestly, the most important thing probably is ways to fuck it up. Like, there are so many ways to mess this up. And I truly, truly believe that the betting market and the bettors out there are as smart as they have ever been. And everyone has the tools to do this. It's just, there are so many little traps that the books put out there. And if we can avoid them, I think we're going to do well long term. And then, of course, if you all know me, of course, promo code at the end. I mean, my God, we have to have a promo
Mr.
code.
Promo Code himself.
You don't think I was going to do this without a promo code?
It just wouldn't be right, would it?
No. All right, so let's jump into it. Road to Millions. What is it? Well, this is our project. These are the things that we have worked on or are working for us. You all are free to do whatever you want. This is not something I'm telling you to do. I'm just saying this is what we are doing. And you have to understand, only 1% of bettors turn a profit. And this way of looking at sports betting is very different than what most people think of as sports gambling. I would say most would either consider themselves amateurs or they are amateurs. But I promise you, you're better. You're better than that. You're better than you think if you just follow some very, very simple steps. But you are going to have to break some of the chains and the ways that you've been thinking about sports betting going into this. So I ask you to have an open mind. If not, you're going to fall into the same traps. But if you follow some of these steps, I really, truly believe it's going to make a massive difference, and it's going to turn your bankroll around. So, all right, the goal. You can start with any amount for your bankroll. For tonight, I'm just going to use $1,000 as the bankroll. So we're going to start with $1,000, and we're going to turn this thing into $1 million in 5 years. Some people may only be able to start with $500. Some people may have $10,000. This works with any bankroll. And the goal is to make 3% a week. This is the biggest number to think of throughout this whole thing. 3% a week. No matter what your bankroll is, we need to make that 3%. We're also not going to pull money out of the bankroll to pay ourselves. Nathan, you and I did this for a long time. And this was kind of the crux of where we were like, wait a minute, we keep pulling money out of our bankroll to pay ourselves, which is awesome. But we just weren't getting anywhere with our bankroll. And that's kind of where you and I had our aha moment, right?
Yeah.
We're just thinking this, we're going to think of our bankroll as almost like a retirement account or an investment account or a stock portfolio. So we don't want to say that we're gambling. We like to think that we're investing. And if we just concentrate on investing and our goal is to make 3% of our bankroll every week, we are now investing, and we're not just doing the average gambling thing, which is just throwing money at random bets. The nice thing about this is it is okay if we don't hit the goal exactly. We're aiming high for huge results. But if we only get 75% of the way there or even 50% of the way there, this is a massive success. Imagine telling your accounting guy that you're going to turn $1,000 into $1 million. Believe me, I've done this, and there's a lot of blank stares coming back at me. My current guy who runs my IRA, he told me he would race me. He's like, I'll race you to millions of dollars. I was like, challenge accepted. So as we move forward, just remember, we need to make this 3% a week. So if you start with $1,000, we can turn it into $1 million in 5 years just by making 3% a week. So if you have any questions, just don't be shy to put them in there. This is a lot to take, and we are live, so we will be able to answer these. So, okay. Things you have to believe for this to work. This is the mentality part, and we have to buy into this. Right after this, we're going to get into the math and the money part. But if you don't believe in these things and you don't adhere to these things, you're going to get in trouble. So we have to believe in discipline. We have to be able to not make that crazy Saturday night bed at 11 p.m. on Hawaii football because we've lost a couple bets throughout the day. We have to have the discipline. We have to not follow a bet because a random guy on Twitter, said something, heavy lock bets, said that whatever the Grizzlies are going to cover. No, have to have the discipline. We have to stay the course. Bankroll management. This is part of discipline. You have to guard your bankroll with everything. You have to be so protective of that bankroll. Sportsbooks are out there to try and get every penny they can out of you. So you have to guard this bankroll and be so disciplined with your money management because they will zap it so quick. I'm sure we've all been there. We've all lost a lot of money over the short period of time. But if we follow good bankroll management, we will not allow the books to do that. And this will help our long-term growth. The 3% a week is the goal always. You're going to be hearing me talk about 3% all night. It's the percentage. And the big thing is the percentage stays the same. The dollar amount changes. So as our bankroll gets bigger and bigger and bigger, we are only basing it on the 3%. We are not basing it on a big dollar amount. So when our bankroll starts moving up and up, and I'm going to show you my personal spreadsheet of our books, you're going to be able to see how the amount of money does increase, but the percentage stays exactly the same. And that's how we add it. It's the power of compound interest. So it's staggering when you look at the math and when you look at the numbers. But we're going to do that here in a little bit. Everyone goes on winning streaks. Everyone goes on losing streaks. This is just tried and true. The best gamblers in the world hit 57, 58% of their bets. That means they lose 43 and 42%. So everyone is going to go on winning streaks and losing streaks. It's how we handle these streaks that determine success. And we are going to go over what we determine is a losing streak, when we're in a losing streak, what to do with it. And on the flip side, hopefully we're on a lot of winning streaks. How do we handle winning streaks? Because that's where we thrive and that's where we can add the most. So the way that you've been doing betting up until this point isn't generating wealth. So Nathan, can you talk about this a little bit about just how kind of we were just stuck in the mud and how we talked about how we can really get somewhere serious with this?
I mean, well, basically it's the situation of like where you're always 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or 2 steps back, 1 step forward. You're always kind of managing the same amount of bankroll because what we were doing was just, of course, the amount of bets, and it's kind of like dying by 1,000 paper cuts, right? Like you're just slowly and surely chipping away at whatever profit you would have gained, at whatever bets that you knew were going to lock in, that you were putting your 5% or even more because you were sure thing, but all these dink and dunks throughout the week would end up eating away at any sort of profit that you had. So you're really just sort of spinning your wheels and not really accumulating any wealth. You're just kind of sticking with what you had, and then hopefully not, digging yourself too deep of a hole there.
Yeah, and when we talk about the winning streaks, like we go on a really good winning streak. So what would we do? Well, we take that money out and pay ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Except the bankroll number stayed the same because we'd pull that money out, and then what would happen? Inevitably, we'd have a losing week, and now all of a sudden our bankroll was lower, and we were just like, well, how's our bankroll lower? We just had a really good week. So we're gonna show you guys how to look at your bankroll as an investment, and we're shooting big for this. We are shooting for a really, really big amount of money. Okay, so how do I start? We talked about starting with $1,000. Again, this depends on whatever you want to do with your own bankroll. It's your money. So I think you need at least $1,000. I think if you really want to get off to a good start, you can start with less and work your way up, deposit money into it until you build it up. But I think you need $1,000 and you need at least 3 sports books. There's reasons why that we need multiple sports books. If you want to invest in other handicappers, you need to have extra money for that. So if you want to buy a year's subscription to someone, it can't come out of that $1,000. It has to be separate from that. So we're going to start with $1,000. We need 3 sports books. And if you have more than $1,000, you need more sports books. I have 17 right now, and there's not more than a couple thousand in each sports book. Some of them have less than that. The reason is we want to stay off the radar of some of the books, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. Okay, so I have here, send an email. If you want to send an email to me, bumprunsports@gmail.com, I will send you these two things here. So the first, which I'm going to show you right now, is the calculatorsite.com. This is how you can see the calculations and how they work. And then I'm also going to show you my spreadsheet, and I'm going to send you my spreadsheet. It's just a Google Doc, and it has all of the formulas already in there. So you literally can change it to your number, and it'll formulate for you. So I'll show you that. So let's start with the calculatorsite.com. So if we want to start with $1,000, we're going to put in here $1,000 for the initial balance. Then in this box here for the interest rate, this is our 3%. So this is what we are aiming to make every single week. So we have $1,000 here. We're going to make 3% per week. And we're going to do this over 5 years. And it doesn't sound like much. When you say 3% a week on $1,000, but then when we calculate it, right there, $1.5 million if we just hit 3%, if we don't pull the money out. And this website will break down for you your money that you will have per month. So you can see if we just make, if we have $1,000 on month one, look at this. We only need to make $130 in the first month. So if we do that, you'll see we'll have 1,130. Month two, now we need to make 146.90. So you see this, and then if you just scroll all the way down, if we keep following this, yes, sir, last month, $1.5 million. So Corbin, was this the part that you were a touch skeptical on?
No, I was never that skeptical.
Oh, really?
Maybe getting to 1.5, but as you said, if you just make, as you said, not even half, or if you make half, that's still a crazy amount of money considering where you've started from. So,
Steve, was this where you were a little bit skeptical?
Well, at the end, it's, when you have the bigger bets, that's where you're going to have to juggle, multiple sports books. That's where that's really going to come into play. Looking at it, like Corbin said, it's you get halfway there, you're going to be happy, right? So I'm not skeptical anymore ever since we've started using this approach. So
you know who is skeptical? Skeptical is anybody else I tell about this. Like, so
yeah, exactly.
So my family, right? Like my family, my wife, my parents, like blah, blah, blah. I'm like, hey guys, this is what we're doing. This is the calculator. This is how it's going to go. And they're like, bullshit. Like, no way is that legal. No way is that whatever. Like, it's just, it's a little, it's weird. It seems a little too good to be true. But as you'll see, it really isn't. I mean, as long discipline is the main like holding tried and true to the methodology is what matters.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I'm sorry, Andy. The consistency, the consistency, though, if you stay consistent and you just keep winning bets, your bet size is just going to move up, and that's the key to this, right? Is towards the end when you get the bigger bet size, that's how you're gonna lift the bankroll up.
I was surprised at how many people were skeptical of that, and it's okay. I don't expect everyone to buy into it because this is just different. It's a different way to look at it. So if we really want to change it, so that's starting with $1,000. What we did, myself and Nathan, was we started with $4,000. So if we recalculate that, now we're at $6 million. So I would love to be wrong by 50%. This would be amazing if I only got halfway. What a great goal to be 50% of the way wrong. So If you want to send me an email, I will send you the link to this, and you can plug in your own numbers, and it'll all work for you. So, all right, this is the spreadsheet that we created. And again, send me an email, and I will send this to you. So, if we see here, we in this A column, we just have a 3% increase. We have our start, we have our month and our week, and then we have the bankroll total. This is what I calculate every week. So Nathan and I started first week of February. So we started with $4,000. Our goal was to be at 4,120 by the end of week one. We broke even. By week two, we wanted to be at 4,244. As you see, we had a big week, so we're already ahead of schedule at 5,128. So what I do is just each week, and I will show you how to reset and figure out what your 3% is. I'm tracking here in column B how we need to be on track. Are we behind or are we ahead? So right now with where we're at, our goal is to be at $12,299. We are at $16,457. So we are doing really, really good. And this is since February 1st. Now I will show you there are ups and downs. It is not always up. But we did a good job weathering the storm on some of these. So you can see here in April, we did really, really good. The bankroll is going up. We had a huge July. And then August, we took a hit. But because we rode those winning streaks, we were able to weather some losses and keep ahead of schedule. And I'm going to show you guys how to do this. So September, we were almost to that 20,000 mark, and then we hit a little bit of slide in October. UFC didn't go well. We lost a couple brutal ones, so we're still ahead of schedule. So what you can do when I send this to you is on this B column, just put in what your bankroll is. So if you want to start with $1,000, this is already calculated, so it'll show you exactly what you need to do to get ready for your road to millions. Column D, you're just going to manually change as you go through your progression. So if you have a great first week, just put in, I made $500, so I'm going to put in $1,500. So this is going to be formatted for you. You don't have to do anything crazy. If you have any questions on it, just put it in the email. Put in your subject line, Road to Millions, and I'll send you this. So this is what I do every week, and we'll talk about what day to do it and how to determine what is our 3%. So again, if you have any questions about any of this or if I'm going too fast, please let me know, and I'll slow down. But if we don't have any questions, we can go back to getting into this. Okay, reset day of the week. So this is what I do. People have asked, like, well, is it 3% every, like, how do you determine what's 3%? 3% of what? Is it every day? Is it every month? Is it every week? Well, I do every week. So what I do is I pick a day of the week and a time on the day. So I make it very easy and consistent. It can be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, morning, evening. This is our reset day. So every week at this time, we're going to reset as to what is the new 3%. So for week one, if you start for $1,000, 3% of that is $30. Our goal is to make $30. All right. So let's say your day is Wednesday. Let's say you make exactly $30. So week two, I have my reset day. My bankroll is now $1,030. 3% is now $31. So my goal is to make $31. Next Wednesday, I'm going to calculate it up. If I've lost money and I'm down below $1,000, that's my new 3% total. If I'm up, let's say I get up to 1,100, then 3% is of 1,100. It just depends what your total is each week. But pick a day and pick a time that you can commit to that is every single week. That way you don't get confused, you don't get behind, and just this only takes a few minutes. It really does. All it is looking at your totals in your sports books, putting it down in the spreadsheet. That's it. So that's all we're doing. I will tell you how I determined my reset day. And this is based on the different sports that we all cover. So I was doing Mondays as the reset day. I just changed it to Thursday because we have a lot of results on the weekends, and I want to know where I'm at to start my betting week. So we do UFC. Those are on Saturdays. My golf plays will be on Sundays. Auto racing is on Sundays. And then we have the weekend plays of NBA, NHL, and NFL. Those are all going to be settled on the weekend. I want to know early in the week where I stand. Am I way up? Can I take it easy? Am I down? Do I need to do some damage control? I want to know where I'm at. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I've got a pretty good plan. So if I'm up early in the week, I am in a fantastic place. I can relax and not do anything if I'm a cautious bettor. So, I mean, for example, last night we had a good night. We made over 3%. And if we hit another bet today, we could be up 5%. You could be done for the week. You've just made 5% of your bankroll when your goal is 3%. This is a really, really tough way to look at your bankroll. You're like, wait, what am I? I'm not supposed to bet the rest of the week, but there's games tonight. Like, right, Corbin?
Exactly.
There's Steve. There's games on tonight. We have to bet, right?
You got to bet them, yeah. You got to be part of the action.
So, I'm telling you, no, you don't.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know. So, so I tend to be a cautious bettor. If I get up early in the week, I'm going to take it easy. So,
yeah,
I want to protect my 3%. So if I have a great weekend and I start off my week and I'm up 10%, I'm not going to risk anything that will get me below 3%. Let's say I made 10% over the weekend, and I think I got a pretty good read on a Monday or Tuesday, I may fire a pretty good shot, but it's not going to be anything that's going to dip me below that 3%. Maybe I take a 4% shot, and if I win now, I'm up 14%, and I'm having a huge week. But if I lose, I'm still at 6%, and I'm feeling pretty good about the week. Okay, so if we start the week bad, so what I do is I think it is so easy to lose a ton on losing streaks, and it's so hard to not chase bets when you're losing. How many times have we done this, guys? Like all of them.
Just a few.
All four of us have lost some brutal bets, and we try and get it back. And it is, I swear, the books make hundreds of millions of dollars just off of people going full tilt and just losing money on more. So even though it may hurt your heart and it crush your soul, and it's way different, when I get off to a bad start, I'm going to pull back. I'm going to bet less on my bets, and I'm just going to try and make it to where I don't lose a ton of my bankroll because I know better days are ahead. Remember, we're all going to have winning streaks. We're all going to have losing streaks. How do you handle the losing streak? What we don't want is the month from hell that kills us. We do not want the month where we go 4 weeks in a row just losing 10%. It'll wipe out your bankroll. So, Nathan, you asked me a really good question. What is a losing streak? So,
what is a losing streak?
Well, I thought about
that. Great
question.
It's
a great. I'm gonna deem a losing streak as 12% of your bankroll over a week. So I think if you lose 12% over a week, you're on a losing streak. So what would we do in the past? Well, let's get it all back. It's Monday Night Football, baby. Let's get it all back. What I choose to do is say, I'm on a losing streak, and that's okay. I need to weather the storm until I'm on a winning streak, and I need to know when I get on a winning streak. So we can do a couple things. At the most extreme, we just take a few days off, take a week off, and just say, I'm not seeing the sports really well. There's bad karma. The gambling gods are against me this week. I'm taking a few days off, and I want to limit my losses here.
It's a
Or
good time to reset
it's a
and
perfect time. Yes.
reevaluate where you're at.
We can keep betting, but I choose to lower the amount of units. So if I would look at a bet that I'm pretty confident in, and I would say, well, this is normally a 3% play for me, but because I'm losing here, I'm going to make it like a half unit, or I'm going to make it a 1% play. That way I can kind of dip my toes in and say, am I winning? Am I losing? But when we get on these losing streaks, pull back. Don't have your money invested in some of these. You have to weather the storm. It's so hard to do. It is absolutely so hard to do. But I promise you, if you can figure this part out, you're going to be stunned at how much more money you're going to have in your bankroll if you just figure out how to stop the losing streak. When we're winning, we're kind of going to do the opposite. I talked about it earlier. When we're on a winning streak, let's push. We're seeing the games really good. I've just hit, 58 or 60% of, call it, NBA and NHL plays on a week. That means we're seeing it really good. So I may push a little bit, maybe try and push the profits. We always keep the 3% number in the back of our heads. We have to protect the 3%. But if we have those weeks where we make 18%, think about that, 18% in 1 week, it covers 6 weeks of your profit. But if you lose 18%, now you got 6 weeks to make up. So just think of it that way. We have to try and avoid these losing streaks. It may be the hardest part of this whole process, is what to do when there's a losing streak. I swear, and Steve, I've talked to you about this. If I could magically figure out when a losing streak is coming, my God, we'd be, bazillionaires. I almost get worried when we're hitting like 70 or 80% of the bets. And because it's just like, it's not sustainable when you're hitting that high. So I don't know, Steve, what have you seen over the last 9 months with this, with losing streaks and how we handle it?
Well, like you said, it is the hard. I mean, and if you look at the chat, there's people in the chat saying it's the hardest thing to do is to not chase those losses, to not go after, doubling down and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's been really, like, these losing streaks. We try to avoid them, obviously, but everyone's going to have them. So we've pulled back at points, taken a day or two off, recalibrated, taken maybe a sport off that we're struggling in, and that's worked for us recently, especially. It's hard to do. It's very hard to do, but I have the hardest time almost with it. And Andy's a big advocate of pulling back when we're losing, and it's very smart. It's a great strategy, and I would encourage people to do that.
And Corbin, this is where low volume helps as well, isn't it?
Exactly. If you have low volume, you can easily limit. If you're doing well, you can just add on a few more or carry on as you are. I think the key point to point out as well is, even if you're on a winning streak, as you said, don't go crazy with it where you can end up then losing all the hard work that you've done previously to get you to that spot. Just because you're on a hot streak doesn't necessarily mean it's just going to continue as you start to hammer bets. But the low volume, you can cut down on plays easily still, whilst not putting yourself in a position to go big one way or the other.
Because the juice will eat you alive. You mentioned earlier that the best gamblers hit 55, 60% of the time. So if you have a ton of bets on that other 40, 45% of the time when you're losing, or whatever it may be, 35, 40%, whatever you want to call it, you can get crushed, and it's hard to come back from something like that.
Max asks, it seems like broadening what you bet on to multiple sports instead of focusing on only one or two would lead to better opportunities. Has this panned out to be profitable? For me, yes, it has. And I believe that is coming up. Give me just a couple slides, Max, and we will go into that, because yes, yes, having multiple sports has been unbelievably helpful, because if you're running bad in one sport but you're running hot in another sport, you know where to put your investments. So
Exactly.
we'll go into that.
Or
Jim,
as Steve said, you can take a certain sport off for
yeah,
a couple of days while still aiming for your 3% or whatever in the other sports that might be going better for you.
Jim wants to know, just curious, what you all consider high volume, like a number of bets per week. Okay, well, this is perfect timing. So, what is the difference between low volume and high volume? So, right now at this time of year for the sports that we bet, well, I think it's a slide coming up. So, for this week, it's going to be busy. We will have UFC. We will have auto racing. We have tennis. We have soccer. We have NBA. We have NHL, NFL. I mean, we're looking at 7 sports. I invest in a Canadian Football League capper, so we can add to that. So the key is not necessarily how many sports, but how many bets. For NBA, we will have 1 or 2 a night. Tonight we have 1. With NHL, 1 or 2, 3 is a lot for us. With UFC, what will we have? 1 or 2?
One or
Yeah.
two by on average, maybe 3 in the max. Yeah.
And that's a sport that is just 1 event a week. Golf, I have 2 plays for this week. So when we're looking at what is high volume and low volume, I don't necessarily think that it's plays per week. I believe it's plays per sport.
Per sport. So
Yeah.
let me jump in real quick. So for example, we used to do, Andy, with the UFC, even though it's once a week, what we used to do is like there's 14 fights, on a card.
Yeah.
And so we used to try to max out as many bets as we possibly could, probably putting 10 bets onto one card or even more than that, doing a lot of props, this, that, and the other. And
The,
then
the
we'd
good
end
old
up-
days,
the good old
or
days
the
of-
bad old days.
Yeah, of either winning big or losing bigger. So, and that's kind of like the example is that, I mean, you've got, so with NHL, I mean, you have how many games happening per night, but you're only, or how many players and how many prop opportunities, but you're only going to cherry pick 1 or 2 on an individual evening for that particular sport. And that's, I mean, same thing with UFC. That's why we dialed it down from these exuberant numbers all the way down to like 2, maybe 3 at the most on a single event.
A couple really good questions here.
Just quickly before you move
Yes.
on, another point I would add is to not have too many, or if any, multiple bets on the same event or game. Because if you're betting 3, 4, 5 player props on one game and the game script goes against you, all those bets could flip the other way, and then you've set yourself up for then an overloss.
The classic primetime Monday Night
Yes.
Football game. Like, yes. Oh, we gotta have 5 bets on the Monday Night Football games. Like, well, you wouldn't do that on a game on Sunday. I wouldn't hope.
Exactly.
So yes. Okay. Do you prefer to bet to win 1%, or do you prefer to risk 1%? So 55 to win 50, or 50 to win 45. I always bet to win 1%. So if our bankroll is 16,000 and 1% is 160, I will bet what it takes to make it 160, if that makes any sense. Missed the beginning, covered. What percentage of your bankroll do you wager on individual plays? Between 1 and 5%. Great question. So I will wager less per bet on the daily sports like NBA, like NHL. And this is me personally. This is our system. I encourage you to add your own personality to your own bets. I am a cautious bettor. So when I have NBA and NHL in a night, I'm probably not risking more than 1% per bet. The reason for that is I specialize in golf. So for this particular week, I only have 1 event to make wagers on. So I have 2 bets. However, there are NBA games every single night. So for me, that specializes in golf, I want to have a little bit more on my golf plays as opposed to every single night having 2 or 3% on NBA, because at the end of the week, I really don't want to have NBA and say, well, I made like 13 NBA plays all at 3%. And then, I had 2 golf plays at 3%. And Corbin, you do the exact same thing with soccer and with tennis, right? Like, you're not going
It's
to
all
have as many bets.
situational, I feel. So you don't, as we keep going back, you don't want too much in one area. Like with NBA, they play every night. If a team's up big, you might still like the play, but they've got another game in 2 days. They might go and rest people. Whereas, like, if you get soccer, it's once a week. They only play the once, so there's less factors that go into it. So I'm prepared to risk a bit more on certain games. Like, there are certain game windows that I won't bet. Like, I've said it so many times, there's an early Premier League game every Saturday, and the underdogs always seem to come through. If I like a bet on that, I won't go above 1% because of the situation, kind of thing.
For player props, what is the range you're looking at for odds and juice? Minus 140 tops. Yeah, even that is a little bit more, because we do so many player props, and there are so many player props available. Corbin, you and I do Formula One.
Yeah,
You gotta lay juice sometimes on a
exactly.
sport like Formula One.
I'm not against laying juice, but it's laying juice in the right sports at the right place. Like, I've laid juice in tennis before at Grand Slam early tournament, when you get the big favorites against the unranked guys, but I wouldn't pay a high juice to get an extra 5 points off somebody on an NBA game on a Tuesday night, if that makes sense.
Steve, you want to talk about juice on player props real quick?
Yeah, I mean, my personal kind of limit, 150 is about the max that we would normally go. Like Corbin said, it varies from sport to sport. I mean, I've placed bets on with high juice, negative 200, but it has to be almost like close to obviously there's no sure things, but it's got to be one that you're really confident in. And when you're, for the sports that I personally specialize in, NBA, NHL, football, NFL, and that kind of stuff. When the nightly sports, more in particular, though, you can't be risking a ton of juice on a nightly basis, because like I said earlier, the juice is gonna kill you eventually. If you risk negative 150, negative 140 on a player prop, it's not a recipe for success. You need to 140, 150 is about my limit.
And going on about that as well, if the more juice there is, I won't risk always the same amount. So
Yeah,
say I have a minus 110 play that I love, and I think it's 3% worthy. If I like the minus 200 play, let's say just as much, I won't put 3% on that, just because of how much you could end up losing. I'd make it a 1 or 2%, just so you don't overexpose yourself either way.
Yeah, I never want to have more than 5% of my bankroll invested in one particular bet. So, can you yell at me 4 or 5 times in a row to stop live betting? Oh, yes. Live betting. There is a reason why the sports books love to push their live betting odds. Yeah, we'll get into live betting here. So, good questions. If you have any more, keep asking. Yeah, so just to recap low volume high, but 1-0 is better than 2-1. Like, it sounds so silly, but if you go 1-0, you don't pay the juice on the one loss. So, I don't give out locks or guarantees. I will guarantee that you're betting too many bets. This is one of the biggest lessons that I've learned, and I really, really hope that people take away. You take away that the 3% a week is going to make the difference, and you got to learn that you're probably betting way too many bets. There is no way that you can properly research everything. I do this for a living. I can't research everything properly. So the belief in low volume, if you think about it, I don't need to have a lot of bets to make 3%. Like, what if my reset day was Tuesday and I hit a 4% play on NBA? I just made one bet in a week and I accomplished my goal with a 1% to spare. So if you just think about the 3% mentality, you don't have to have a bet every night. You don't have to have a bet every game. Steve, you want to do the primetime games? You want to
Yeah,
tackle that one now?
that's one that, when I was a long time ago, you got to determine if you're going to do this for fun or if you're going to do this to make money. If you want to put couple $100 on a game, go out, have a good time, and you win, it's gravy. If you lose, no big deal. It was just entertainment. That's fine, and that's a good time. But if you're looking to win money and do this long term, you can't. You can't just be betting TV games and betting your hometown team. I mean, when I was younger, me and my friends, we would bet every TV game on Sunday, the home game, to root our team on. You know what I mean? And that's just it's a recipe for disaster, essentially.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's luckily we've learned from that, though. So
we have learned from that. We are looking for the best investments possible, wagers that have been completely and properly researched. So, all right. So, of course, my friend texted me instead of putting it in the chat, even though he's watching this live, and it happens to be on this particular slide. So, shout out to Jay. So, how to stay off of the radar of books? Listen, this is going to be a fantastic problem to have. If you get to this point where you're getting limited by every book, this is a great problem to have. Most people are not going to get to this point, but if you want to start off and prepare for how to stay off of the radar of all the books, get as many sports books as possible. Offshores, know how to do your deposits in crypto. It's the future. It's not the past. Don't make one big bet at one sports book. Spread it out over multiple sports books. So if I have DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM, Bovada, and MyBookie, don't play $1,000 pick at DraftKings. Play $200 at DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM, Bovada, and MyBookie. It kind of sucks because you're going to end up paying worse odds at a couple of the books, but you don't want to get flagged and dinged early on and get limited at one of these books. I made the mistake at a lot of books and a couple of local bookies who I've been cut off from. And my problem was I didn't spread it out. I made bigger bets. And this is especially important with some of the niche sports. I got cut off because I won like 3 European tour golf events from a local guy who was like, I made 3 bets with him and he was like, here's your payout. I'm not taking any more of your bets because I just, bet there. So spread them out. Get as many books as possible. It sets you up really, really nice. You'll be able to shop around and find good numbers, but I can't stress enough about having as many books. When I remember when I first kind of got the itch to do this professionally, I was listening to Teddy Covers, and Teddy was saying the biggest difference between the pros and the amateurs is how many books the pros have compared to how many books the amateurs. I blew it off completely, and over the years I've just learned, yes, this is absolutely key. So the higher your bankroll gets, you're going to be needing to spread out these bets more and more. And it's a good habit to get into early on. So get as many books as possible. The nice thing is, states are just opening up legalized gambling, each and every day. So I suspect in a couple years, pretty much every state is going to have this. So I'm lucky. Me and Nathan live in Indiana, which was one of the first states that got it. So we have access to a ton of books. If you're in a state that doesn't have legalized gambling, take drastic measures, get as many offshores as you can, or find someone you trust that does live in a state that has legalized gambling. I've done that with a couple of my friends where one of them lived in New York, didn't have legalized gambling for a while. So we would put bets in together. I would take 10% of the winnings and he got all of his bets in. Now it's legalized there, so he doesn't have to worry about it. But just take drastic measures to get as many books as possible. It's too important. So occasionally play parlays at the US books. They love parlay players and know that no serious bettors actually play them. I have not confirmed this, but I have heard this. This is an interesting one. Las Vegas Chris has brought up this. The legendary Las Vegas Chris has said, if you're worried about getting limited, throw some completely amateurish dog shit bets on your sports book. It'll keep you off of the radar. I definitely don't want to recommend putting in losing bets on purpose, but I have heard this. I can't.
It's hard to do too. It's just as hard to lose on purpose as it is to win on purpose.
They'll be the ones that win easily.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, moving on. This is more of the mentality aspect of it. Okay, things you can control versus things you can't control. We need to focus our mental energy on things we can control. What are things we can't control? Injuries, blowouts, penalties not going your way, weather, coaching. How many times have we screamed at the television or the computer when someone we bet on got hurt in a UFC fight, or when someone gets red carded in a soccer game, or the weather, cancels a baseball game halfway through. These are things that just drive us nuts, and it drives us nuts because we can't control it. So what can we control? Let's take a look at some of these. How many sports books do I have? Did I put in my full effort to get as many outs as possible? How much research did I do? Did I look at the opponents of the person I was betting on? Or did I look at what, a specific golf tournament layout was? Did I do as much research? Do I want to invest in a handicapper? Which one? Did I research which handicapper I want to invest in? When do I bet? When do I not bet? Am I up 3% for the week? Am I up 10% for the week? These are all things that we can control, and it all just comes down to discipline. Do I have the discipline to control myself to not throw out that horrific drunken bet at 11:30 p.m. on a Saturday night that just took away 2% of our really hard-earned money? So when we're looking at betting, it's really hard, but we have to just ignore the things that we can't control, the injuries, the huge blowouts, the game script not going away. Is it frustrating? Of course, but it can only be frustrating for a short period of time. We have to get back to what we can control. So we look at all these things that we are in charge of, and the results will come there. How much research did I do? How many sportsbook do I have? Did I show good discipline with my bankroll management? So
with the sports books as well, just shopping around for a better number or a better price could make a huge difference when so many player props could be decided by a couple of yards or a corner less or that kind of thing. And obviously the less juice you can pay for the same bet just helps either way. So.
Absolutely. These are all things that we have 100% control of. So we concentrate those, and we definitely get those under our control, and we maximize that, and we become experts in the things that we control. The results will absolutely get there. Noah, how did you learn how to bet size aside from situational in terms of Road to Millions? Well, very easily. Getting my ass kicked for years because I was a moron. And I'm dead serious about that. Like, how many of us just put like a couple $100 into our bankroll and we bet it all that week and we lost it? Like, there's just some things that you just learn the hard way. Like, some of the things I did when I first started is downright embarrassing, but you learn from it, and you just learn that what works best. That's why I settled on this 3%. The 3% seems like such a small number, but the compound interest makes such a big difference. And if we're betting low enough and we limit our losses, what we're doing is we're taking out that really, really huge losing streak that can wipe out our bankroll. So how did I learn it? By making a lot of mistakes early on and losing a lot of money. So Steve, I don't know if you have anything to add to that. I'm sure we've all done it, right?
Yeah, I mean, when you start out gambling, you think that you you have a good knowledge of the sport, obviously, because you're a fan of it, and you think that you can just win. You know what I mean? And it's just not the case. And there's a lot of bad practices that you can have that a lot of people need to learn from doing it themselves. You know what I mean? So, and that's, I think, that's what we have done. So.
Yeah. Magellan Sports, yeah, I believe you just barely missed it. So when we're done, just go back and look at the beginning. We go over the 3% per week in detail. So, all right, how to pick what sports and niches to bet on. Corbin, you're very passionate about this one. You've expressed this.
Yes.
So I'm going to go to Nathan first here because I'm going to start with what are you an expert in, and do you track your bets? This whole thing started with Nathan. Those of you who have been in Takedown Live know this. So Nathan and I would go out all the time and watch UFC events at the Hooters in downtown Indianapolis. One night we figured out that we could pay for our bar tabs by live betting. This is true. By betting on UFC, that was our goal. So we would just end up paying for our tabs by betting on UFC, and then we realized we were really good at it, and then we were like, maybe we should take this a little bit serious. So Nathan, UFC is a sport that you're an expert in. You do incredible amount of film work, and it works. And it just goes to like, what are you an expert in? So I guess, can you talk about just like kind of when you realized, hey, we're good at UFC, we can do this, and what it's like looking at the film?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like just it's an easy sport, I guess, easier for me to analyze and to break down and to kind of make predictions on versus some other sports, just because all my life I've been sort of passionate about like martial arts and fighting, wrestling, and like anything to do with like physical combat is kind of like where my wheelhouse lies. And then like video games and fighting games and all that stuff. So in watching a lot of the tape for the UFC, before that, the WEC and things of that nature, I just found myself being able to get to predict things in the proper manner, right? Like this opponent versus this opponent, strengths and weaknesses, and getting a feel for making the right choices at the right time. And it's a sport that I like to predict because I'm also passionate about it. So I'm not having to force myself into, say, doing analysis in certain areas that I don't want to spend my time doing analysis on. And I think that's like one of the main benefits for me, is because I actually, enjoy doing a lot of the tape work and putting the time in to make the right calls. Because I mean, a lot of times in the UFC, the reason why I like it so much is because it's individual to individual. You're taking out a lot of more factors when you can look at just a person, their fighting style. You can look at their gym and some of their coaches, but it takes a lot of the X factors out of the game for me. And that's what I like about that. So I can have a little more control in knowing that the time that I put in, that I'm making the right choices. So that's why I also like the UFC a lot.
Okay. Real quick, Magellan, I'm going to get to you. Your question is coming up, but also we covered some of it a little bit earlier, so I'll address it here just a little bit. So Corbin, we have written down here, do you track your bets? If you don't track your bets, how do you know what you're best in? And are you good at betting on a sport, or do you just like betting on a sport? So I know this was one area you said, I want to talk about this. So do you track your bets? Yeah, go ahead.
It's I feel like this is almost the most important aspect, along with the financials, obviously. Tracking what does work and doesn't work is so important, in that you can analyze where you're good at and push more in those areas. And then if you get a whole spreadsheet and categorize each sport, not just by sport, but like type of sport bet, you can easily see the areas you're doing best and worst at. So you can cut off the areas you're not good at and excel in the ones that you are. So many, like NFL, are you good at player props? Are you good at sides? Are you good at totals? Say you're good at totals and not player props. You take away the losing aspect of player props, and suddenly you're left with just the winning total side or sides that you're good at, and it's such a benefit. So
yeah, if you're not tracking your own bets, you're doing yourself such a disservice. There are tons of spreadsheets out there. There are tons of free tools out there where you could do that. There are services that you can pay. Just look them up on Twitter. Tons of really good services that are completely legit that will track your plays for you. So if you're not doing that, you're not being able to educate yourself on what's costing you a bunch of money. So, and it's amazing.
Exactly, seeing all the holes in your game, basically. So,
yeah, go ahead, Steve.
And just to add to what Corbin said, like sometimes you need to specify beyond even just sports. We talked about this the other day. You can be an AFC East expert, or specifying a certain category or a certain conference or a statistic. We had a great run with shots on goal in the NHL, so that's something that we rode heavily. I remember one time a while back listening to Mid-Major Matt talking about if you wanted to break into a new sport like college basketball, college football, it's a lot to take on. But if you break into it, one conference or one division at a time, and you specify in that division, you might see a lot more success.
Yeah, I have this example here, and Steve, it's a great segue here. NBA betting, there's a really easy way to just become an expert in a few teams. So if we take NBA and you say, I really like watching the NBA and I really think I'm good at betting on the NBA, but there's too many teams. So if we start off with NBA, if you just say, I'm going to bet on the NBA, well, you have all teams, all games, sides, totals, props, halves, quarters. Like you said, like, oh my God, it's like there's a million plays that are available. Well, let's say that we live, me personally, Steve, you live on the East Coast, so we follow Eastern Conference probably a little bit more. So let's just narrow it down. We'll say, you know what, we follow Eastern Conference teams. So now we have total, sides, halves, and quarters. Let's say somebody is in our boat, but they say, you know what, I'm not interested in props. So we're going to eliminate props. Let's say they follow a team that is in the Central Division. So we're going to narrow it down to Eastern Conference, Central Divisions. Say, I'm not that interested in sides. I don't have a great record on, predicting point spreads. So we'll just do totals and halves. So just by narrowing it down, you can become the expert in the Eastern Conference Central Division first half totals. And I'm telling you, you can do some damage if you narrow it down. There are way less things to look at. There are fewer teams that you have to try and follow. And the fewer teams you have to follow, the better you get to know these teams and the better you get to know these players. So just by narrowing this down for just a few things, you can get so niche in this. And again, we're only trying to make 3% a week. You can do this by being the expert in the Eastern Conference Central Division first half totals. I promise you. Corbin, you just soccer.
this is what I do completely. So yeah, going on to I always look for or find that these lesser known markets are so much softer lines than the money lines and the spreads that everyone does. Soccer is a prime example. Everyone that knows me knows I love my corner bets because I feel like you can take out so much more variation and stuff that can go wrong. And it's such a, how many people are betting corners? How long are the books spending working out corner prop lines as opposed to the way more money they get on sides and totals? So booking points, corners, any of those kind of niche areas that you can find, just if you can specialize in that area, it gives you so much more advantage over other markets and bettors.
Yeah. All right. We got a few more slides. We're getting ready to wrap up here. So, Max, do you bet any futures on the road to millions? No, I do not. Well, I don't want to say never. We've got some NFL player prop futures, but those are not really a big part of it. That's not what I'm focusing on. I'll maybe throw some out there, but people don't understand don't get me started. People don't understand how to bet futures. You bet a future not to cash a big ticket. You bet a future to set yourself up with a hedge opportunity to guarantee yourself profit, but people screw it up all the time. So, we're coming up on maybe the one of the most important slides, ways to fuck all this up and things to avoid here. So, I want to go over the sports that we do, and this is a huge disclaimer. These are the sports that we use. We are not saying to use these sports. You have to find whatever sports you want to use if you're doing your own handicapping. If you want to follow other handicappers, by all means, please do this. So UFC, Nathan and I have talked about UFC. Corbin, you do UFC with us as well. I do golf. Golf is what got me into the business and got me into the industry. It's been a godsend. It really has. NASCAR and Formula One. Corbin and I share a love for Formula One. We've had a great year, and it's a very bettable, gettable sport when you follow it. And then props. So we talk about NFL, NBA, NHL, soccer, and tennis. We're not betting the main sides and totals on this. So, Steve, you want to touch on real quick NFL, NBA, and NHL, why we focus on props?
Yeah, because it's a softer market. I mean, the sides and totals are, these are the lines that these guys put out that are really sharp lines that are tough to beat. And sometimes if you're looking at a total, we've found that actually specifying it to a team total is even better. Which team do you think is going to do the most of that damage? And you bet that team as opposed to just hoping both teams can fill that total. Player props has been great for us because I just think it's a softer market. That's really why.
And Corbin, you do props in soccer and tennis. You already talked about this. It's just a lot easier, huh?
But as I said, the type of plays can vary between sports. Like, I love my parlays, and as I said, tennis you can lay, like, laying juice goes back to like what sports are you most comfortable at. Just starting out on a sport, you don't want to start laying juice as your second or third bet trying out golf or UFC. Exactly that. I like also betting sports as well that you can watch and hedge on as well. So same way with UFC, you go into a fight with a bet, but you're ready with a live line. If somebody starts tiring or something, limiting a potential whole loss for just a partial loss or getting back in the green can be so helpful at times.
Absolutely. We are getting ready to start to wrap up here. We got a promo code coming here at the end. Jillian, you asked about investing in a handicapper. So I always have a year's subscription to 1 to 2 other handicappers. I really recommend investing into it. I understand that financially it can be tough, especially when you're getting started. If you're going to invest, I really recommend doing 1 year or a whole season of a sport. I always have a handicapper that does the same sport as me and a handicapper that has a different sport. This year I invested in Canadian football. Could not have been happier. It was a little bit more of a niche sport, which I love. They just play games once a week, which I love, and it's been profitable. Not super profitable, but it gets me 1 to 2% each week. So I've been very happy with that. I want different opinions than my own. I think that's another good way to avoid the huge losing streak. Is we talked about if we're on a cold streak in UFC. All right, well, we're running hot in NBA, so we'll focus on NBA. If the handicapper that I follow is running a little bit cold in, just say, Canadian football, well, I don't take his plays for a couple weeks. Then when he heats up, then I'll start firing away, and I can fire away on all the different sports that are hitting, and I can avoid all the different sports that are running cold. So you can control this. This is another part of things that we can control. If you see that you're not running good in totals in a sport, then lay off. And if you see that you're running hot in, a market like player props in another sport, then you can focus on that. This is a way that we can limit the damage when we go on losing streaks, and the way that we can maximize the profits when we go on the winning streaks. So, yes, I completely understand that I am a handicapper and I'm going to give out a promo code, but I really believe in it so much that I pay money for other handicappers just besides myself. And Magellan, we talked about earlier, I don't take money out of the bankroll to pay for a handicapper. I figured that out on my own. So we covered that a little bit at the beginning. So, all right, ways to fuck this up. This is one of the fun ones. So, just lock and loaded. Do you track your free plays? No, our free plays are in Wager Talk, so I track them. I see what the record is, but for plays that I give out on Twitter, no, I don't have an exact record for the free plays that you see us give out on Twitter. But when we give them out, we'll never give out a play that we don't believe in. So we don't just throw out plays without researching them. So, all right, ways to fuck this up. Oh boy, this is like traumatic because I'm pretty sure we've all we've all done this. Drunk betting, boy, how much money have we all lost when we were hammered one night and made some absolutely ridiculous bets? Drunk betting, boy, the books love that. There's a reason why there's free drinks in casinos. So it's hard. This is part of the discipline, but I promise you, if you don't make those crazy, ridiculous drunk bets, you're gonna be much better off. Steve, do you have anything to add on the drunk betting?
Yeah, it's something you need to avoid. You know, you don't want to be placing a bet to get your money back at the end of the night on something that wasn't on your card to begin with, just because a couple drinks you want to avoid that is what we're saying here. You know, like the drunk betting thing is something that a lot of people can really lose a lot of money with. So you want to avoid it.
Nathan, have you ever done this and
Yeah.
woke up the next morning and you were just like, oh my God.
Like, yeah, like, betting a lot, even when the odd just to win like $15, like way too much. Just, like betting those like minus 750 lives, and you're like, oh, okay.
All right. It's hard. We're gonna we're all gonna make mistakes. But
you're saying the Zimbabwe under-21 women's volleyball team are not the best thing to be betting on at 3 a.m.
Not a great investment. No. So this one is hard. I promise you, if you can avoid this, you're gonna save yourself so much money. Chasing losses. I think I misspelled that. Chasing losses. This is probably the hardest thing. We've had a lot of people already comment on this. When you're losing, you pull back. You don't do the opposite. You don't push forward. When you're winning, you push forward. Like drunk betting Chase Hooper to win in the third round. Yes, exactly. Yes. We don't do that. So yeah, when we're losing, just try and get out of all your sports books. Don't have them on your phone. Don't have them on your computer. Get away from it. You're going to be on full tilt, and it's just amazing how much we can lose when we chase our losses. So when you're losing, do whatever. Go outside, get some fresh air, go for a walk, text a friend, call somebody, do anything. Send me a DM on Twitter, like saying, "Don't let me bet this." Just do not chase the losses. I swear, if you don't do the drunk betting and the chasing losses, your bankroll is going to grow way more than it ever has. So, going all in. Oh man. Oh,
it's a lock. It's a lock. I'm going all in. Here goes 50% of my bankroll down the drain because this is something that's really hard, and this is why we look at it like an investing account, a portfolio. Like if you have an IRA or a 401k, you don't put all of your money in all at once. You put a little bit in at a time. That's how you build up a bankroll. So there is no reason to ever risk a significant portion of your bankroll, no matter how much of a lock it may seem. We are trying to hit a lot of singles here. We're not swinging for the home run, because if you swing for the home run, you're going to strike out a couple times, and only a couple strikeouts will absolutely decimate your bankroll. So I'm just going to bet these for fun.
Yeah. I've heard these before. No. I'm just betting. It's just for fun, just for losses. Yeah. When have you ever researched really hard a bet that was just for fun? Never. This is just a great way to slowly deplete your bankroll, death by a million paper cuts. If you don't have a good idea of what's going on with the play and you haven't researched it, it should not be part of your portfolio. Again, it's your bankroll. You can do whatever you want. I am protecting my bankroll as much as I possibly can. Playing the boosts and the parlays that the sports books promote. Can you imagine a sports book telling you to bet something and you actually betting it? Does this make
It's
any
a
sense?
killer.
It's a killer. So for those of you that live in states that have not had legalized gambling, here's what they do. When they come to your state, they will give you boosts and parlays that are gimmies, but you only got about 2 weeks. So they want you to win these boosts and parlays because you're going to be like, oh my God, this is like taking money. This is easy. And then after 2 weeks, now the boosts and parlays start to flip and now you're never winning them. So there is a reason why they advertise boosts and parlays. I would never take a bet that the book wants me to, no matter how good it sounds. If they want you, yeah, go ahead, Corbin.
There's a reason they're the price they are. There's a reason they're plus 400, 500, 600. It's there for a reason.
Yeah, it's like Andy said. Imagine betting what the sportsbook wants you to bet. Think about that just for a second. Just think about that. And I mean, I have an example. I mean, about a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, they had Justin Herbert to throw a touchdown pass. It was negative 800. They dropped it down to plus 100. He had thrown a touchdown pass in 26 straight games, and that was the first week he didn't throw a touchdown pass. You would have lost the boost. It's just crazy. I don't know how they would know something like that. Obviously, they can't know for sure, but they definitely have some good info, more than a lot of us have. You know what I mean? So you can't let the sportsbook guide what you're going to bet.
You're telling me the sportsbook doesn't want me to always win? Is that such a thing?
Yeah, so just save your money on the boosts and parlays. Nathan, you and I had an interesting discussion following content creators versus professionals. It's amazing how many expert gamblers there are these days, isn't it, guys? Everyone's got a YouTube show, Twitter account, and boy, ESPN and Fox and all the networks have all of these expert bettors. But Nathan, you and I talk about following content creators versus professionals. Huge difference. So what's the worry, and what do we tell people about them, and how can we identify them?
Well, anybody that has a payroll, don't really trust, because they're not putting up their own money in, they're not putting their money where their mouth is, right? Like they've got the people for the Fox and the ESPNs and all that. A lot of times, they've got a cushy whatever job and they're getting X amount of dollars every week or every month. So where's their incentive to invest the time necessary in which to make the proper bets? They're just creating content. They want people to click. They want people to interact. So they're going to throw a bet out here. They're going to throw a bet out there. Yeah, I'm an expert, yada, yada. I'd rather put my money or put my time in, the other creators out there that are actually, sharing whatever bets that they're doing, sharing their bankrolls with you, betting their hard-earned money. And this is their way in which, they're trying to make a living, or they have that part-time job, that they're working at, but then spending every waking hour, doing the research to get away from that. Those are the people that you kind of want to follow and you want to put some trust in. They're going to have their great weeks. They're going to have their bad weeks, but they're definitely more knowledgeable than your everyday, run of the mill talking head on one of these sports networks.
And just touching on that, the people that you see on Twitter that have affiliated links to these sports books, there's a reason the sportsbook paying them to promote their bets and then making them give losing plays out. So if I ever see an affiliated link, run the other way.
The funny thing is there has been content creators that were better before they became affiliated.
I wonder why that is.
There's a few that come to mind that all of a sudden, they got these sponsorships or these affiliations, and they're using the numbers of these books and these, links, and it's just not going as well as it used to.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's tough, but if you look close enough, you can really find it out. Nathan and I were noticing when we were looking at UFC plays during Dana White Contender Series, we were like, have you noticed that like one person will come out with their prediction for a fight, and then like everyone else on YouTube who's a content creator just pukes out the exact same. Yeah, those are content creators when they're just following the exact same things. But when you follow people that have real money on the line and their job, their bankroll depends on it, yeah, those people can find it. So,
or you see the people that put out huge parlays at plus 8,000. What they're doing, they're just trying to win one, so they can promote that same one winner and get clicks and follows going forward.
Long shot parlays. Boy, the books love these long shot parlays. We see all over Twitter, and we see all that, like a better bet $20 and hit $2,800. Amazing hit by so-and-so. There's a reason why they like promoting those. It's because that person made $2,800. Meanwhile, they just raked in 13 million on all the other people that lost their long shot parlays. Steve, long shot parlays having a bunch of plays all wrapped into one. I don't think we've ever done that. I would never recommend that.
No, it's a sure way to lose right there. For sure. That's we don't do that.
I equate this. Imagine having a 5-team parlay. You hit 4 of them. You lost. Somehow you went 4-1 and you lost. Blows my mind. So we will do parlays in like UFC, but it's only 2 fighters. I would never do the long shot parlays. You can go years without hitting any of these long shot parlays. But again, there's a reason why the books will take a screenshot and send it out. Like FanDuel is not going to put out a screenshot, that was like, Lang hit Tom Hoagie to finish top 40 at the Mayakoba and just added 2% to his bankroll on his road to millions. They're not going to promote that. Steve hit a nice shot on goal prop in the Nashville Predators game to gain 3% to his bankroll. Like that. No, they don't want you doing that. They want you throwing out, 17-team parlays. So
it goes back to the stuff you can and can't control. Having 6 games or teams or players going exactly as they should or you predict, it's so hard. We have to remember that at the end of the day, it is sports we're gambling on. They're not robots. The same thing doesn't happen as you predict every time.
Absolutely. So, all right, guys, we got one last thing. It's a promo code. So you have any other questions, please let me know. I will throw up the, if you want to send an email, I'll send you my spreadsheet that you can change the numbers in. We can also use the calculatorsite.com. Just send it to bumprunsports@gmail.com. Real quick, I'll just show you guys one more time. When you get this spreadsheet, it's just a Google Doc. And in column B here, you just put your start of your bankroll. So if you want to start with $1,000, this is your goal for each week. And then you can just change these numbers as you go. So I'll email you that along with the compound interest calculator, which will show you if you want to start with $2,000 and you make 3% a week for 5 years, hit calculate, and it'll break down all the amounts of money that you need to make and what happens if you don't pull out money from your bankroll and what you'll have after 5 years here. So, all right, guys. So that is it. Of course, I promised everyone a promo code. So we are at wagertalk.com. We have a promo code that is just good for this stream. If you want to use a promo code R2M50, it gets you 50% off a 30-day pass. So if you've never used our services, if you've never seen our picks, this is a really, really good way to just get 30 days of all of our picks. You're going to see our UFC plays, our NBA, NHL, NFL, soccer, tennis, golf, auto racing, all of that will be over 30 days. And you can see how our picks work with our adding 3% to your bankroll every single week. So just go to wagertalk.com. You can copy and paste that link. Use the promo code R2M50, get you 50% off a 30-day pass. So if you guys have any other questions that you want to ask us, please let me know. If not, I'll just go through these slides here just a little bit. Some of the most important ones. The 3% a week, guys, I think is the big one. The 3% a week, the low volume, I would say. Corbin, you think low volume is probably one of the most important?
Yeah, just going back to the point where if you have too many plays, it just sets you up to potentially have a terrible time and lose an awful lot of money, which then sets you back completely. So the more precise you can get and play the stuff you really love instead of leans, or I kind of like that. If you think about it, if you're playing a play you love at 2 or 3%, and you're also sprinkling a 1% play on something that you lean or like, it's not the right distance between the two.
Absolutely.
So.
Nathan, most important thing that you've kind of learned over the last 9 months since we started doing this?
I mean, really, again, it's controlling volume. It's controlling volume and not chasing. It's like when we were talking about like what constitutes as a losing streak, right? And doing the opposite, where a lot of people want to push in and double down and try to get that money back. Actually pulling back and taking a step away and lowering the percentages so you can mitigate those losses is so important.
Steve, what's one of your biggest takeaways?
Really, it kind of is similar to what they said. Is just the discipline of gambling. When, like Corbin had mentioned, if you have plays that you like and you add them to the night, you have one play that you really loved, and you just take that by itself. Sometimes I look at it as just getting in and out. You get that one play, cash it, you're in and out. If you have other plays attached to it, say you have 3 plays on the night, sometimes that one loss not only kills one of the 3 plays, but the juice will also eat into that big win, that the winner that you had as well, the 3rd play. So I think just the discipline of staying the course with the low volume. I know it's not for everybody, but that's what I'm going to be doing going forward.
I think the biggest thing for me is the 3%. That's my goal. If I can hit 3% a week every single week, this plan just works to perfection. So I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure I get to that 3%. Sometimes I cost myself money by doing that. Sometimes I'll just bet way less because I'm like, well, I'm at 6%, and then I may lay off a bet that won. But that's okay. I hit my goal. So sometimes I've laid off bets, and I'd rather lay off a winner than bet a loser trying to force something. So I just keep that 3% a week in the back of my head. So I think the biggest takeaways, guys, are the low volume, the 3%. You got to have the discipline. You got to have the bankroll management. And I promise you guys can do this. All the information is out there to have winning bets. And if you need help, just send an email to the bumprunsports@gmail.com. You got the promo code that is out there, R2M50. So if you want to get involved in sports that you're not experts in, by all means, do it. I do it too. I don't know anything about betting soccer and tennis, except Corbin tells me what to bet, and then that's it. So yeah, Magellan Sports, more important than hitting the 1 million mark is what happens from there. Stay another way. If you can execute this, you can make 30,000 a week. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways that you can do this. I mean, if you're just looking to save up for a vacation or something, you can do this. And yeah, you could repitch this as a road to a job that yields 1.5 million a year. Man, that'd be amazing if we could. So we want to concentrate on keeping it easy, doing the 3% a week with low volume. So thank you guys. Got about an hour and a half, which is about what I expected. Nathan, thank you. Corbin, thank you. Steve, thank you. And there's too many of you in the room to thank. You guys know who you are. I appreciate you. We can be found on wagertalk.com. And every Saturday, we're on our YouTube channel, Takedown Live, going over all of our UFC bets, predictions, and in fight wagers. And we've got all of our social media links and handles right there. So, guys, thank you very much. Good luck. I'm really proud of everybody who starts their road to millions. You guys can do it. I know you can. There's a couple of difficult things, but once you master them, you're going to be good to go. And I promise you, it's going to be way better than what you've been doing right now. So, thanks everyone. If you have any questions, just shoot me an email. Thank you very much. We'll see you guys later.
See ya.
Later, guys.
Thanks, guys.